Hello everyone from the Novedge team. Welcome to today's webinar, VR and BIM for Residential Design. BIM and Virtual Reality can innovate the home building industry. Even though initially many might feel the benefits of using a BIM model with VR are purely for marketing, there are also many practical business reasons to adopt BIM and VR for residential construction. Join us to learn how with Envisioneer Building Essential 13. Today's webinar presenter, Chantale Pitts, is on a mission to automate the home building industry. Her presentations on BIM and virtual reality for home building have been seen around the world, and she's a regular guest speaker for Cadsoft Distributors worldwide. And now let me tell you a little bit about Novedge. Here it is. Novedge is one of the largest online stores for design software, and we offer a huge assortment of software solutions that cater to virtually every designer's needs. So come visit us at novedge.com and check out the product page for Cadsoft. And for more daily software news and limited time promotions, stay updated with our blog, our Facebook, Google+, and Twitter page. Coming up next week, Solid Thinking Evolve, the ultimate hybrid modeling system. And last but not least, today's webinar is free and is being recorded. So if you want to rewatch it, you can always visit our YouTube and Vimeo page. Just search for Novedge. And now, without further ado, I'm going to share Chantale's screen so she can tell you a little bit more about BIM and VR. Okay, we can see
you see that, Barbara?
Yes.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today and talking about the home building industry and innovating with BIM and VR. I'm going to start off the presentation just on a general note of what is BIM, because as I travel around, everyone seems to have a different idea of what is BIM. I've talked to some people and think, oh yes, I'm using a 3D application. Well, that's really not BIM in itself. So I want to have a discussion on what is BIM so we can all be on the same page as if you think you're using BIM already, are you really? Or what's stopping you from using all of the different advantages of BIM? So to start off, when we look at designing throughout the ages, it really started off as a process of 2D hand drafting historically so that we could document the plans. So you could hand in to the building officials, this is what we're going to be building, here's the design, and I've documented it in a 2D format, hand drafting. From then, it went and evolved to 2D CAD drafting. So that took that hand process and optimized it so that changes were easier and files could be reduced, pre-produced easier, and shared digitally. From there, we again evolved to having 3D models, and that became a more efficient way of communication. So we could solve problems by creating prototypes, allowing people to visualize the end result better. But still, we haven't come to that BIM point. So we evolved again and came into BIM. And BIM evolved the process to collaboration. So now we can take that 3D model that we use to communicate better and connect the whole process of the home building cycle. So we're extending all of the workflows right from the initial stakeholders, the homeowners, all the way through to having all the materials land on site. So if we can take all of that information from one model and use it to automate the home building industry to make everything more connected and to grab as much information from that BIM model as possible. So I wanted to make the distinction that although some people think, yes, I'm using BIM because they're using a 3D model, that's not really using BIM. Building information modeling is to be able to grab information from that 3D model and collaborate with others in that project so that we're all sharing the data. So I want to get into what are the benefits of BIM, show you some BIM, and then get into the VR aspect of it. And because we have a BIM model and now can go into virtual reality simulations, what effect does that have on the overall design as well? So what are the benefits of using a BIM model? Well, the first one, and I think in more of a general stake, is having presentations. Because we do have that 3D model, we can produce high-end images, photorealistic images, and VR presentation experiences. So we can engage the client with stunning visuals and that realistic experience so they really feel like they're inside their home, so we can reduce the concept stage. Another key benefit of BIM is communication. Because we're collaborating and we're all working from that same model, we reduce the amount of errors and surprises on site because we're sharing the same data throughout all the trades. And that graphical language that everyone can understand makes all of those simulations better, so that we're not just writing down in 2D what is happening. We're actually allowing people to go through the 3D model and communicate better from that exact same model. Also accuracy, because that model has the potential to hold information related to costs, SKU numbers, sizes, phase of construction, usage for those individual elements going into the model to be reported and sent directly to accounting software. We know that we can be more accurate in the data that we're pulling from that BIM model. Automation, I think, is one of the key benefits of BIM. So we can automatically produce different pieces of information, from as little as the elevations, sections, detailed floor plans for the permit purposes that we can now submit digitally. It also can automate the whole process of material takeoff and getting all of the data from the actual materials we're going to use as well. And then integration. So all that data that we're pulling from that BIM model should be able to flow to other programs so that we can integrate and share the information to reduce the time that we're taking when we constantly redo and redo and redo depending on the stage of the building. So as an example, a homeowner comes up with an idea. They use maybe a hand sketch. Maybe they're using a simplistic design tool. Then they go to a designer, a builder, to see about that vision, to get cost estimates, see the designs. Another application is used. And then when that project goes into further, then they have to start thinking of ordering trusses, ordering the floor joists. And again, it's another workflow, another model being built. So if we use this BIM model intelligently, that same model can flow through all the way and we can integrate it. So if that homeowner is using the same BIM model, that can be then used by the designer and then used by the engineering for the trusses and the I-joists and all of our material supplies that we're going to be ordering, that's what we should be doing. Either that same model or an export and reuse of that same model in a different platform. And that's using the benefits of BIM, taking that information and sharing it along the way. And then analyzing that model. That model, if it's intelligent and is a true BIM model, should be able to take off energy analysis information so that you can check the values and be able to submit that data when you go to get your permit. So not only are we using the BIM model for our permit drawings, but also the other part of the permit and doing the energy efficiency of the home that's being built as well. So analyzing that model in a variety of different ways, instead of, again, using other bits of pieces of software and starting a whole process over again, we should be taking that information that we've derived from that initial BIM model to be able to use it all the way through. So let me show you BIM in action and where I see all of this information going and flowing. So right now on your screen, you should be seeing Envisioneer Construction Suite. This is an example of a BIM product, Envisioneer, that'll be able to take the information that I'm initially drawing as my design concept throughout the phases of the design and into the design, into the full construction of the building as well. So underneath this building tab, I'm going to select on walls to start generating the initial layout of the building. Over to the right-hand side of the screen, that's the catalog, where I can choose the type of wall system that I'm going to be using for the project. So I'm going to use 2x6 construction, and I'll use a stone veneer on the outside. And then I'll just quickly draw a model. Drawing the model, depending on your BIM solution, can be as easy as typing the exact dimensions as I can here, or pointing and clicking as I can as well, or lining up the walls with other walls in the project. I'm just going to draw the project here roughly so we can get an outline of what we're looking at. And I'll make that as big on the screen as I can. And then from there, I can go through and add other pieces of information. So if I wanted to put in the doors, I can place those into the design as well, grab some windows, place those in as well into the design. And from there, just start using these various tools to create the design. As an example, roof. I'll put a 612 hip over top of the entire project. One important key concept of using BIM as well is the intelligence of the information that you're working with. So as an example, when I put on that roof, it's interconnected to the walls. So from my design, if I decide that this wall needs to push down and come to this point, my model should interact with that with the roof, as you can see that it did. It knows how to realign all of that. Or if I click on part of the model here and decide to make this room exactly maybe 18 feet wide, again, the roof should interact with that and change. So I should come in, change dimensions, and it should have a positive effect on everything that it's touching, like the roof. As we're drawing that BIM model, it's also a 3D model, so I can go out in any stage and look at it in any kind of view. So I'm just popping it into a 3D view at this point, so I can take a look at it. And while I'm out here in 3D, if I decide I want to add in elements, I'll just do that as well. So working with a BIM model should be a quick and easy process. It shouldn't be difficult to build the items that you have, but on that same token, because we want to share information all the way through, it should be intelligent enough to know what everything is so that data can be supplied. So as an example, when we started drawing these walls, as I said, they were 2x6 construction with a stone veneer. So ripping back the veneer, I can look at the framing that's involved in this structure. And when I'm looking at the framing involved in this structure, and I'll just pop this up a little bit so maybe we can see those headers a little bit better over those openings, I should be able to interact with that as well, so that when my ultimate goal of having all of these materials arrive on site, I should be able to customize what all those materials are. So I'm just going to go into a framing mode and click on this front door. And perhaps if we can look at this project, we realize that maybe there's going to be a point load coming over that door, and the generic span table that we've set up to help with the situation isn't going to see that point load coming down. So we can look into the properties and say, well, hey, I'm going to look at a custom head sill and jam table. Let's specify using a PSL header so that I can visually see that. So if I get out of this framing mode and go back into my framing, I'll be able to visually see that I'm using a PSL header over my decision to upgrade the header over that. Because the tables that I had set up for the engineering of this, I wanted to override because I can see potential of maybe something else happening over that one particular opening. All of that information too, because it is collecting all that data, should be able to be pushed out. So if I come up here to Tools and Analyze that model, I can generate a project estimate. So I can look at all of the materials that I have specified so far in this project and look at all of them in a system here where I can see what is my ground floor wall framing. Here's my headers. There's that PSL header that I put in that needs to be 6 feet long, some 2x8s and 2x6s and a 10-foot length and an 8-foot length for the headers. My plate material, a mix of 12s, 14s, and 16-foot board lengths. The nails, everything that went into that project as I'm building it should be spit out on the end as well. So I'm not just drawing a 2D illustration of what I want to build, but I have made that into a 3D model so I can tour around it and view it, but also take it into that BIM stage of collaboration so I can grab all the materials and send it to my material supplier, send it to my estimator. Here's everything that's going into the project so they can ultimately add in prices down this column right here. So that's using the power of BIM for a few different reasons. So I'm collaborating with my suppliers and collaborating with my estimator on everything that needs to be done. I'm also collaborating with the design team so that they can sit down with the homeowners and show them the illustrations. In the model itself, I'm just going to add in a ceiling and go inside the home. I'll just place a camera inside here. When we go through here, I'm just going to grab these feet and walk inside. As a homeowner viewing this for the first time, one of the questions might be the effects of lighting on the overall design as well. So I'm just going to put this into a realistic mode so that if there was time of day here, maybe what I'll do is look at the same properties and put it in a month. So I'm just going to change this to October when the sun is a little bit lower, and we can take advantage of that and see the shades and shadows coming in. And we'll just change the time of day here to be maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon, p.m. And you can start to see if I walk around here, the shades and shadows coming in. So you can set where you are in the world and what time of day it is so that they can see those sun studies as well. You can also start to add in lighting. So with this in mind, if I grab in a light and bring it into the space, I'll just grab this light and throw it into this corner. We'll maybe add a table in there later. That light source can be connected to, and again, sharing information, IES files from the manufacturer. So I'm saying that this one has a series of 8-watt bulbs, and I can turn those on and off in their intensity. And I can also edit those lights and maybe grab a different IES file. So again, sharing information, collaborating with manufacturers of the different lighting products so I can see the effect that that's going to have, taking up the percentage of brightness so we can see the illumination of that light and its effect on the room as well. So not just are we taking the materials out, but we're showing the effects of the materials as well to the homeowner and working directly with manufacturers so we're bringing in the correct lighting levels of those different various rooms as well. So just a quick look at BIM and the effects of having not just a 3D model, but a BIM application where we're taking out that data to take it and analyze it and share it. Data like this can be analyzed and shared in that project estimate. It can be sent off to quoting systems, so building supply centers that want to integrate this information with their point of sale systems at their cash registers can do that through generating the quote, or uploading it to various ERP systems as well. Sending it off to ResCheck, so it can do an energy audit on the home, and then just producing general schedules for the permit drawings, door schedules, window schedules, member schedules, anything that's put in should be able to be scheduled back out. And that even goes into individual wall panel diagrams. So as we're framing those walls, we're producing those into panel diagrams that can be sent out on site or into manufacturing. As we're all acutely aware, one of the biggest issues that we're facing right now in building industry is having qualified people on staff being able to build on site and putting the homes together. So when we can put everything into a table like this, that everything that's marked as an A is a stud, that's a 2x6, and there's 7 of them, and cut them to this length, makes the process easier. So when we're dealing with having to train people on site so that we can get these homes built, every little piece of information that we can share and collect from a BIM model is important. And then again, collaborating and importing and exporting in various formats, whether it be a generic IFC format for the 3D model to share it with someone else that can use and take advantage of that data, sending it out for analysis by different, again, manufacturers, Weyerhaeuser, CSD, MyTech, Boise, Keymart, so they can create the truss information, create the floor joist, if it's manufactured floor joist that you're going to be using for that project. So they don't have to redraw that model. We need to save time. We need to integrate all of these steps through an intelligent BIM model. So I just wanted to kind of give you that rundown that we all have created and done 2D models, adding on our dimensions and putting on all the information that we need for permits. And I'm sure many of you are using 3D models, but are you taking that BIM information and really using it throughout the entire process? So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, and in there we'll continue on that discussion of BIM. So why automate then? We've talked about the benefits. It's when everybody's working together effectively from that earliest stage in that phase of design and taking it all the way through to having those materials on site, delivered, and walls built, everything put together, that we can reduce the overall cost and time because of the better communication, the elimination of those duplication of efforts of redrawing and redrawing and drawing, and most importantly, the better quality custom renovations and new homes that we're producing because we have fully thought out the whole process from sales and marketing when we are engaging that client to our decor centers so that they can pick out those materials that they're seeing in that 3D model, to getting those quotes after seeing that 3D model, doing a virtual tour of it, understanding those materials and the true cost of all of the materials that are going into the project, permit drawings, fast, accurate documentation process, going into sending the direct data from that BIM model to engineering platforms that can better analyze the model and pull the data that we've supplied for them. And then linking to point of sale systems so that when we are ordering materials from the building supply centers, it's directly integrated with their control systems and their catalog of elements that are available and shipping them right out on site following the list that we've created. And then at the very end of the process, when we have that fully created home from the model, sharing that model back to the homeowner. So if they go to do any kind of renovation in the future, any kind of maintenance on their home, they can refer back to that model. So I wanted to kind of do a two-part look at BIM and VR and the integration of a VR into that, and what is the power of home building using VR. And we all know that the home building industry needs technology, and professionals and consumers can better visualize and understand a project when they're in a fully immersive experience. So when we can educate the homeowner on their choices and engage them in that process, it makes a stronger relationship between the designer, the builder, and the ultimate homeowner. But there's so many different types of VR applications out there. I wanted to step you through how can we deliver an engaging VR experience to those homeowners in the home building industry. We have different options available: cardboard, Samsung VR, Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, VR Studios. There's just a few of the manufacturers of VR equipment that are available in the industry. And I wanted to, in my next point, in the slide that I was revealing, show you the pros and cons of each one of these systems for home building. So when you're evaluating, yes, I think I want to bring VR into my sales cycle so that my potential homeowners feel engaged in the process, feel educated in the process, know exactly what they're going to get by providing an experience where they feel like they are part of that home. So the first one is the Google Cardboard that I wanted to look at, its pros and cons. It's obviously one of the cheapest options you can get. Throwing their smartphone into a cardboard box really is what you're doing, so that they can view and feel like they're immersed in a virtual reality view of their home. It's the cheapest option because ultimately it's a cardboard box and you're taking advantage of the technology that the homeowner has already in their smartphone. It's a great takeaway when you can brand that cardboard. If you have people coming into a show home, if you have a show home done or a decor center that you own, and they can walk away with their design on their smartphone that they can share with a cardboard box that's got your name so they remember where they were and get excited about the whole experience that they just had, it's a great takeaway. And it promotes sharing. We know our stats on the millennial generation show us that unless they can share information about something they want to purchase, they won't purchase it. They want to share the information, get everybody's idea and win on that particular purchase before they do. So when you can make them have something that they can share, they're more apt to buy into the whole process of buying. It's a good image quality, different VR experiences that you can produce in different products. We do one in Cadsoft. There are others out there as well. And they'll produce a good image quality. I'm not saying great. I'm not saying fantastic. I'm saying good. It's enough that people will want to share it, but it's not something that they feel fully immersed in because ultimately they're looking at something through their own through a cardboard box. So it can only be as good as the equipment that they're using and their phone that they have. So that's why I say one of the cons is it's not fully immersive. It feels like you can look up and around and be in the space, but you're not navigating. So that lack of navigation really makes it not immersive because they're in that cardboard box and because of the lack of real good navigational controls. There are some on the cardboard boxes that allow you to navigate, but it isn't a true flowing navigation. And there's no direct link back to the model. So once you've created that 3D model, that BIM model, where you've collected all of that data and pushed it into an application for the smartphone, there's not a connection back to that model that you were originally creating. So you've lost that tie. People can see it, but if they want to change, you have to go back to that model and push it back to the phone. And because cardboard is cardboard, it's not that durable. You get that wet, somebody steps on it, it's gone. But again, it's the cheapest option, so replacing it isn't that bad. So I think Google Cardboards are a great option for those of you that may have a show home or a decor center and you want people to ultimately walk away with something. So they're not just walking away and you're not sure if you got that sale or not. You want them to remember you. You want to remember this experience that you were able to provide them. So pushing a design to their smartphone through an app and giving them a little piece of Google Cardboard so that they think that you're really savvy with the technology that you're providing and they remember you. I think that's its ultimate win for the Google Cardboard. The Samsung Gear VR. Pros, it's a very popular option because it's a cheaper option than some of the VR experience hardware. It's a good on-site option because ultimately it's just like using Google Cardboard. You're putting your phone into a piece of hardware so that you can view, but the Samsung VR is durable because it's made out of plastic and it's not cardboard. But you're going to get the same good image quality, not great image quality, but it is more durable than the cardboard. The cons, again, is the same as what the cardboard would be. It's not immersive because you have that lack of navigation. You can look up and around and see the space that you've sent over, but you can't navigate. And again, you've lost that direct link back to the model. So if a change needs to be made, they have to do it in the model and send it back to the application. I think the real strengths in using something like the Samsung Gear VR are for on-site personnel. You've got framers on site. They have a question about how this wall is framed. Where does this window go? There's a conflict that the drawings didn't show. The HVAC sent through their ductwork and it's interfering with something and they weren't really supposed to send it through there. They didn't take advantage of the BIM model. Now we've got this ductwork. How are we going to work around it? So taking advantage of Gear VR, the designers back in the office can draw up exactly what they want it to look like, push that to the phone so no one has to imagine what you're trying to say. You can just push it to the phone and say, okay, look around this room. This is where we want that new header to go over top of this opening, move the opening here, reframe it exactly as you see it here in this experience. And they can look up and around that entire room to see the changes that you're going to make because of what's happening on site. So I think the Gear VR is great for on-site option because you can push it right to the framing crew on site, anybody that's on site, so that they can visualize exactly what you're trying to talk to them about, maybe on the phone if you can't get right there, or what you're trying to point out and describe, immersing them in that 3D model on site. Perfect for the Samsung Gear VR. Next, we have the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive, and I pushed the two together because really the technology is very similar, and they have both the same pros and cons. So the pros of both the Rift and the HTC Vive are they are immersive. When you put on the helmet that comes with the Rift or the HTC Vive, you feel like you're in a different environment. And that's really what the whole goal of virtual reality is to take you into an environment that doesn't exist so you can visualize what it's going to look like. Great for renovations, great for new home owners in a brand new space, trying to visualize what it's going to look like. And when you put on that helmet, it takes you into that space. So it's got really good immersive qualities. It's got good navigation. Both the Rift and the Vive come with hand controls. The Rift ships with a Xbox controller. So just like you would use the controllers to go through a game, you're going to walk through the home with those same navigational controls. The Vive comes with little paddles that allow you to navigate the same way, that you can walk back and forth and around inside a space. If you're using something like Cadsoft Envisioneer, which I showed you earlier, it has a direct port to the Vive and the Rift so that you can go right in the space and walk around that same 3D model. If you were hooked up with a Rift on, just as I was walking through the model, you would feel like you were inside the model if you threw on a helmet. So it's got great control. You can walk from room to room to room. It has good image control. It's taking advantage of that realistic mode that I was discussing earlier, where you can tell it where you're in the world, what time of day it is, so you can have that good image control. And ultimately, it's more durable than cardboard and a Samsung VR. It does have some cons, though. It's more expensive hardware, not just in the hardware with the Rift and the Vive helmets and paddles that you buy with the when you buy a Rift or you buy a Vive, but also the computer power that you need. It won't run on just a laptop that you have lying around. It has serious computer specifications. So with the hardware for the Rift and the HTC Vive, they're about $600 to invest in getting that equipment. And then in the computer power that you need, it's probably going to be another $2,000 that you're going to invest in the computer that you need to run them. So this is ideal for a decor center. When people are coming in, they're looking at their housing options, they've specified the plan they want, now they're coming down to making decisions of, do I want that tile, do I want that paint, do I want that window there, do I want to move it over here? Just those last minute movements of different objects, immerse them in that home so they can see that paint really doesn't go with that tile, or vice versa. Try these different options, upgraded options that this tile, the lower end tile, doesn't look as good as maybe this hardwood flooring that we're going to try to choose, and we can show you the different options. So I think these two are great for a decor center. And another reason I say that is the last con you see in that list, they're in a wired environment, a tethered environment, if you will, that you need to stay seated for. So that helmet that you put on your head for the Rift and the Vive is tethered back, wired back to the computer. So you can only move so far, and we suggest you sit down because virtual environments sometimes can make some people nauseous. So you're in that sitting down situation where you're tethered to the computer and you're navigating through it and you're seeing everything. So it's a very immersive experience, but it needs true computer power. And we suggest that because it's tethered, you don't allow people to walk, or they're going to ruin your equipment as they walk too far and the helmet just flips right off of them. The last piece of equipment that I wanted to look at for virtual reality is called VR Studios, and you can look vrstudios.com up. The two middle pictures that I have here show the controls and the helmets that you put on, and then two people in that environment. The pros are it's super immersive. You really feel like you're walking through that space. It's got great navigation, great image quality. It is untethered, so you can walk around the space, and you really feel like you're walking around that environment as you're going through. Walk through that kitchen. Do I feel like I'm too close with my island next to the wall-mounted cabinets? Do I need to give myself a little bit more room? You really feel like you're in there, and you can feel how close it is. So it's great for those immersive experiences. And because it's untethered and you're walking, it's better for that. It's also multi-person. You can throw a couple people into a space, and you can both walk through it. So that's a great pro. The cons, obviously in that kind of environment, it's going to be the most expensive, and it does need the same type of computer power as the Vive and the Rift. So no more computer power than those two, but the equivalent. But the hardware, because it's untethered, is more expensive. If you look down in this picture where my mouse is moving around here of the environment, you can see that it's in a space where there's cameras all the way around tracking your movement. So as you walk, it's looking at your helmet that you're wearing that has sensors on it, so it can see exactly where you are and what you're looking at, so it can produce that picture in the headset for you. It is truly immersive. You really feel like you're there because of that system that they've created, but it's expensive. This environment, I think, is really an excellent opportunity for those that are selling multi-story condo units, where you want to bring someone into the floor where they're going to be outfitting their condo unit, but it's just right at that stage, a blank slate. Throw on the helmet. This is what the space could look like inside, but here's the view from the outside when you take off the helmet. So for those that are going to be investing in large multi-story condo units, I think VR Studios would be a great investment for that. You can outfit one unit and put people in it and feel like they're walking around their whole condo unit because of the cameras that they allow in it, but it is the most expensive option that you have. So VR and home design, this is what we call that disruptive opportunity VR stage that is bringing people into stores to what is VR, what is AR, and people to try it. Sales experiences are changing, as we all are well aware, and we have to stay current. So in the home building industry, when we can adapt to those changes and build things like VR into our sales experiences, that's going to captivate that audience of home buyers that are coming through to say, wow, I really knew what my home looked like. I felt confident with that builder, with that designer, because they were really showing me exactly what the home was going to be like. They're using the latest of technology. So whether you're a homeowner, you're the designer, you're the builder, the contractor, engineer, LBM supplier, when you start designing that new space, it should be a fun and engaging experience. VR allows that in the visuals that it's going to be providing you. And with working with that 3D model, right from the concept right to construction, allows us to collaborate with all of the different people that are stakeholders in the process, so that we can share the information and make it a more viable, intelligent process right from concept to construction. So it is a seamless, engaging experience today. And we know that millennials prefer a seamless shopping experience that's convenient, fast, and memorable. So when you can use that BIM model and build VR into it as well as your sales tool for your decor center, for quotes, for social media, and for the finished home, it's by far a superior process. What I'd like to do now, and with the aid of Barbara, is take any questions that you might have about BIM and VR and then the home building process. I'm more than happy to answer and address any questions that you might have about our presentation on that subject today.
Thank you, Chantal. Thank you for putting together such a useful list of VR devices. I think there are tools for everyone in the construction business, no matter the size of the business. So please stick around, ask away. We're here. We'll leave you a few minutes to type in your questions, and Chantal will be happy to address them. So don't be shy. And I have to say, Chantal, I just recently experienced VR at the very sophisticated level, and I was blown away. I was really blown away. So I see the potential, and I urge everybody to implement it. But that's, as a customer, not as a constructor or architect or designer,
Right.
but as
Right.
a customer, I was blown away. So, um, the ideas are all there, and I hope this helped you picking the right tools. And yeah, we're waiting for a few questions. Nobody's asking them, I think. Okay, can we import models for different applications into an application that could extract BIM information?
Yes, I'll port back over to Envisioneer. So
Cool.
when you're in Envisioneer, we're able to import many different file formats. So I could import something as simple as a PDF file that I could trace over top of to create a 3D BIM model from. Or we can bring in and import different packages like an IFC file. So if you're using one design software that can export out in an IFC format, we can actually bring in that IFC file, and in importing it, we recognize that that's a wall, that's a window, that's a door, that's a roof surface. So we begin to translate those into our BIM format if it comes in an IFC format. Other formats that we can bring in that don't bring along intelligent information would be coming in from different DXF files or things like that. But IFC would bring in the most intelligent one because we're translating as we're bringing through. But even just if that's all you have is a PDF file from the homeowner of a sketch of an initial design, we can take that information, bring it in, and move that into a 3D model. Is there any other follow-up with that one, Barbara?
Yes. I thought I was muted. I was muted and I was asking the question. Will this software work on Mac environment?
Yes, if you can install it on a Mac if you're using a boot camp. We do, and maybe Barbara, afterwards you can follow up. I'll send you a system and requirements that we have, and
Sure.
on there will be for a Mac as well under the boot camp. Or if you're using something like Parallels or things like that, you can run it as well. It's a Windows-based software, but it can be installed on a Mac through boot camp or Parallels.
Cool. And what app does the smartphone use for Google Cardboard?
The one that we push it out to is the Envisioneer VR app. So this model, once we've got that in that 3D model, that's when I would come up and then I would send it into our presentation mode. Presentation mode would take it into the VR environment for HTC Vive or Oculus. When I'm sending it to the app, to the Google Cardboard, I'm rendering a panoramic view, and that will sync in with the VR app in the App Store, and they can view it from their own smartphones right from there.
Wonderful. And for more advanced and realistic texture, can we import substance files or texture image files?
Yes, you can. And when you're bringing in a texture file, so for example, let's look at this stone. So I'm going to double click on this wall, and it brings up all of the wall's information from how it's being framed, the height of the wall, the trim that it automatically will associate on the inside or the outside of the wall. But it's this appearance page where you're grabbing those materials. The materials that we're grabbing are just JPEG images or a bitmap. And once we have that JPEG or bitmap image, we can make it a higher end material as well. We have, as you can see here, full material properties that we can apply to it. So you can put a bump map texture behind it, give it a emissive quality, opacity quality, specular reflection, so that that material takes on a very realistic appearance, that it looks like the stone and you feel like you can see the actual mortar joints between it. So yes, bringing in image files, we can certainly handle that, and we can apply properties to them to get them to look like a really high-end material as well.
Cool. And with Envisioneer software, how do you add a dormer? How does one learn Envisioneer? Two questions.
Okay. So yeah, two parts there. How do you add a dormer, and then how do you learn the software? Sure. So I'm just going to put this into a view where we can see maybe the roof a little bit better. Walk out here, and when we can see that, I can apply the roof. I'm just going to make this one maybe into a gable. So we've got more of a roof surface on that one side to handle. So I just made that into a gable. And now on this edge over here, I'll add in a dormer. So I'm going to grab the roof tool and go down to a dormer roof. And in this dialog box, gives us the opportunity to describe the dormer that we're going to be creating. So I'm going to say it's 5 feet wide. It's a 4 and 12 slope. It's got a gable front on it. I'm including walls. Let's make those stucco. And the height above the roof, let's go 3 feet above the roof. So when I bring this along, you can see where I can point and click and automatically put in dormers along there. Now, working in a 2D environment, I can place those a lot better so that I can accurately place where exactly I want them to go. But here in a 3D visual, I can also put in those dormers and specify the materials that are going to be used for it, their heights, so I can put it exactly where it's going to go. Okay.
And the other part was, how does one learn Envisioneer?
How do you learn the software? That's a great question. Under the Help pull-down menu, you'll find a variety of different tools to help you learn. So there's something as simple as going through our Quick Start Guide. And that steps you through learning everything basically that I did for this model that we created together today. How to draw a wall, how to put a roof on, windows, doors. So it takes you through those steps so that you can get your feet wet with the software and you can learn it. We also provide weekly webinars for our clients so that they can learn the software and stay current with it. Every week is a different topic. So one week we'll learn, how do I draw walls? How do I modify walls? How do I customize a wall to be the exact materials that I want? And then how do I put a roof on is the next week's class. Or how do I put a kitchen inside here? How do I put in floor joists and roof rafters? Those are all different classes that we offer every week. We also have training seminars that we put on in different cities. And we also do customized online training as well. But check with your Novedge website. They'll have those learning materials up there as well.
Yes, and is there a free trial version to try on a Mac?
Yes, you can. You can download that right from the Novedge website.
Yes.
There's a 30-day trial, and then you can install it on your Mac so you can see how efficiently it'll run for you.
Great. And does your software communicate with other Revit software?
With other
Revit software.
Revit software?
Yes.
Revit can export in an IFC format. So we can import the IFC file from Revit. We can also export ourselves in IFC format. So if you wanted to export the 3D model out, it can go out in an IFC file so that Revit can import it. We also export out in SketchUp format, DWG, DXF, 3D Studio format. So there's lots of variety of formats, but the one that would translate the best to Revit would be the IFC file format.
So let me get this other question confirmed. Envisioneer has taken part in the Building Smart IFC certification process?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Can you approximate the number of licenses you have sold in the US to date? And Tom is wondering if purchasing is justified.
The software itself is sold worldwide in 4 different languages. So worldwide, there's over 2 million licenses of the software in use. I'm not sure directly how many in the US, but our worldwide stats are 4 different languages and over 2 million copies of the software have been sold.
Good enough. And can you explain the difference of the different licenses?
The different levels of the software? Yes. So what I've been showing you today is our construction suite software. And what differentiates it, it's our highest end software, is the ability to break the model down into individual wall panel diagrams and to send the model itself out to create a quote. Our next level down is our Building Essential software. It won't have the quoting, it won't have the wall panel diagrams, but it can generate a project estimate from the model, because it can fully frame the model, as I showed you, and create that and send that off into the generate project estimate. So just the spreadsheet look of the report. Next down from that is our Pro Architect software. Pro Architect is about building the 3D model and generating the plan sets, all of your working drawings. It does not get into any of the estimating at all. That is Building Essentials and Construction Suite that offer estimating. Pro Architect builds the same type of model. It can still create the presentation mode VR experiences, export it out to the phone, create all of your working drawings, but there's just no estimating with it.
Okay, that was very thorough. Thank you so much, Chantale. And I think that was the last question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the screen back, if you allow me a second. So here we go. I would like to thank everybody today for attending, and I want to remind you to visit our page at novedge.com, where you can find Envisioneer Building Essential 13 and the trial as well. And our next webinar will be a preview of Solid Thinking Evolve 2018. And to rewatch today's webinar or previous ones, check out our Novedge YouTube and Vimeo channels. Our webinar playlist has webinars for every software taste. Thank you so much, Chantale, and thank you for a great demo again. Looking forward to hear your next one.
Okay, thank you, Barbara.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.